This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Oh my God, it's the Riffinator. So, author and blogger and professor Libby Cudmore with a vengeance.
Happy to be here. I wouldn't call myself a professor, just a casual teacher.
Okay, casual teacher.
Yes, of fiction. I don't teach at the university level. Just like to share my, what I know with the people who come
Workshop
to the writer's
mastermind.
circle. Yes, there we go.
So this has been a long time coming. Is like I heard what books by famous comedians she was into, and I, being an avid reader, was like, that was also my proof that I actually listened to the podcast. There's nothing worse when you see someone go, "Oh, I like your show." Okay, which episode did you listen to? And I was like, oh. I listened to a bunch, and at one point she was mentioning, "Hey, I'm a big fan of some of these books by Mystery Science Theater and RiffTrax maestro, head honcho Mike Nelson," and I was like,
yes,
that's the perfect guess. I've been looking to kind of discuss those ones. I love books by comedians. Virtually everybody has done them, from George Takei and Aisha Tyler to Dennis Leary and George Carlin. It's just like, it's always a lovely experience. I mean, Detective Munch, Richard Belzer had a hysterical one years ago on how to be a stand-up comedian. So I was just like,
oh yeah, I've been meaning to read Norm Macdonald's as well.
I think his one kept selling out, and then once he passed away, it was like, you bastards, they just upped the price, and you're like, I love Norm. I'm not shelling out $80. The fuck?
I miss Norm a lot.
He was kind of like everyone's favorite grumpy uncle, who just like, he knew how to just kind of be truthful in between his grumps, and it was just somehow even funnier. Like it just landed somehow.
Yeah, I think Dirty Work is a masterpiece.
Yes,
really, it's just one of the funniest films ever made. Some parts of it don't hold up in our contemporary society. Some of the language is a little outdated, but it's still just an absolutely hysterical film.
Sorry, guys, we were all laughing at homophobic jokes. It happened.
It did. So.
But I loved how, for that episode, when you guys were covering the soundtrack, is like, by the way, just so you guys know, there was no official soundtrack. We're just going by the music listed in the end credits.
Yeah, basically. So we should have got the Dirty Work soundtrack. Put it out on vinyl, you pussies.
And see, this is why I know this is going to be a great episode. Warning. If you couldn't already listen to the viewer discretion advice promo, we're going to roast something or someone. No holds barred. But yeah, so Mike has recently had a newer book with one of the RiffTrax head writer, Connor. It was like a fake diary of Nick Nolte. I haven't read that one yet, but
no, I haven't read that one. Although I do, I do love Connor.
Yeah,
he was actually in the town where I used to work.
What?
As a newspaper reporter.
What?
Yeah, he actually came to Cooperstown for they put Homer Simpson in the Baseball Hall of Fame for I believe the 20th anniversary of Homer at the Bat. And a couple of the writers were there, and he had one of the signs with the argument that they have in the bar. Like, I can't remember which sign he had. I think he had Pliny the Elder. And my husband took a picture of him, and I didn't know it was Connor. And later on his Twitter, he posted about being at the Baseball Hall of Fame and he had that sign in the picture. And I said, one, I'm a huge fan of RiffTrax. And two, my husband took a picture of you for the paper. Would you like me to send it to you? So he and I would occasionally talk. I kept trying to get him to hook me up with Mike Nelson because I know Mike loves The Replacements, and so do I. And I also just think Mike Nelson is really, really, really cute.
Yep.
And so I was like, I don't know. I just think he would think I'm cool. Like, I like I have a thing for like a Midwest, like a big, tall Midwestern man who loves The Replacements. That's like my type. That's my type right there. Very specific type, but I know two guys who fit it. So
it's very
and they're both my type.
Oh man.
Not gonna name who the other one is. If you know, you know.
Modine.
No. No.
Jeff Goldblum.
You're just gonna like rattle through like, how many can I get? Nope, it's not Goldblum. Although I do have his jazz record. I have one of his 2 jazz records.
I've listened to them all. They're very awesome.
Yeah.
So Mike has 3 winners. Just guffaw, just the kind of humor. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kevin Murphy's A Year at the Movies was always a great read, but it's just like Mike had 3 bangers, and I wish he would write a little more, but he started off with 2000's movie Mega Cheese, where he talked about some of the various infamous blockbusters of the late 90s, and he had Mind Over Matters, which consists of various vignettes of him at perverted hotels, just looking at TV listings.
His shorts, his things about performance art and musical theater. That my copy of that is in serious danger of falling apart. That's how many times I've read it. When I did teach college, I would have students read from it because it's just such a wonderful, funny text. And I have them read from Kevin Murphy's A Year at the Movies too. His essay about Santa Claus is one of my favorite, just one of my favorite essays.
That's a great one.
And yeah, the one about getting the flu in Italy and not being able to watch films and like somehow like making it work. I think it's really beautiful.
And the fact that he ran out of movies in 2001, so he's like, I guess I'm gonna go and see all these other awful movies I really don't like. Or
yeah, and it's funny because I go back and I'm like, oh, like he mentions The Accountant, seeing that at Slam Dance, and that went on to win the Oscar for Best Short Film that year.
Walton Goggins.
Yes.
Yep.
And Ray McKinnon, who I absolutely adore and have adored all of his work.
He just came out with a new movie called Knox Goes Away, which I didn't realize, but yeah, he's worked on Mud and a bunch of other stuff like that.
Check that out. I really like Randy and the Mob, which is a kind of a mess of a movie, but I really enjoy it.
And it's PG.
It is. It's the rare PG film
about mobsters, mommy.
Yeah. So, and then That Evening Sun is the one my husband really likes. That's also just again really beautiful. Nice. So, thanks for making me think about Ray McKinnon. I actually hadn't thought about him in a bit, but yeah. And so it's funny.
I own Rectify, but I still gotta actually sit down and watch it all.
I tried. I couldn't get through Rectified. Right. It was too slow, and I love Ray McKinnon's like the softness and the slow burn of his films, but I'm like, this is a TV show. You have to move things along. Please move things along, sir. Give up.
Oh, good. All right. So, but yeah, he checked out a bunch of shorts, and it's just so funny how Kevin just cannot stand Kevin Costner and some of the other A-listers, so he lets those movies wreck them for him. But yeah, Mind Over Matters has a lot of just bizarre massage parlor and other just hotel stuff, and I don't think Mike's a homophobe, but he's definitely uncomfortable of seeing people look at his jokes.
Yeah, I think he's very Midwestern in the sense that like nudity and human bodies like make him uncomfortable. And
unless it's the other gender. Yeah.
No, not even like, because you see it in movies, like they cover up the nudity in Starship Troopers. In
all I know is he makes a few riffs on some of the Star Trek movies saying, "Oh, please take your top off," certain actresses. So I didn't know how much of that was the writers versus him joking.
Yeah, no, he seems very uncomfortable with human beings, which I think is again that's a deeply Midwestern thing.
You're not going to see him at
And
an art museum.
yeah, he just seems very, you know, we just rewatched Girl in Gold Boots, which is one of my favorite episodes of MST3K. That and Hobgoblins, and he just again seems very
Oh, God.
unnerved by all the girls dancing, and then later Crow shaking his various things. So and definitely like that
I
Midwestern
did see
dryness.
Hobgoblins recently, and I'm like,
Oh, it's so.
it's funny, but God, fuck that movie. I hate
Oh,
that
I
movie.
love Hobgoblins. I like course. I had correspondence with Rick Sloan for a while, and I actually just acquired sort of the jewel of my record collection, which is
I'm sure there's
the
good music in it. It's just, I don't know, man. I can't handle Gremlins knockoffs. They're bad.
No, yeah, the darkwave band called the Fontanelles did the soundtrack for Hobgoblins. It was their music, like their EP, and only a handful of copies of it exist because they were never signed to a major label. And I managed to get my hands on one of them.
The music was
only
fine.
3 songs.
It was just everything else.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's like the prize of my record collection is the Fontanelles. I also have the Girl in Gold Boots soundtrack. I've got the Hellcat soundtrack.
Those are fun.
A bunch of Amy Van Doren stuff.
It's just I was with Mike where he pretends to sneak into the theater and tries to sneak out. I wanted out of that movie. So then the last one he does is Death Rat, which is just a small town satire, and like you say, you do kind of see a bit of his Midwest heritage just illustrated there. But I just love how this giant monster movie spoof, this giant rat, is bringing everybody who otherwise doesn't get along kind of together.
Yeah, it brings in like all these different groups of people,
all
and
these
again,
hippies, all these conservative guys, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah, I hadn't read Death Rat since I got a copy of it for my birthday when it came out. And when I was traveling down to this writer's workshop that I was teaching at, I brought it on the train because I knew we were going to be doing this podcast. And I was like, I should refresh myself because as I've memorized Mind Over Matters, memorized huge parts of Movie Mega Cheese. But I was like, it's been a while. So I uncovered my copy of Death Rat, which had been sort of at the bottom of the pile when we moved. And I was cracking up on the train.
It's like War of the Worlds, kind of. He televises it over the radio, and everyone thinks it's an actual incident.
Yeah, but I forgot how funny it was, and it's great because there's so many references to sort of other jokes of his, like he mentions like the Bleeding Vein Theater, which is in his essay on performance art in Mind Over Matters.
Running
and so there's just like different all these different things tied together in sort of the Mike Nelson extended universe.
The Mike Nelson universe, yes.
Which I love.
The only thing that was missing was taking the fictional band Sex Factory from Mr. Science and putting it
Yes, I was very surprised that Sex Factory didn't make it.
Oh man.
And but that might have been a Bill joke or a Kevin joke.
Probably.
So
true, because it has sex in the name.
Sweet Mike Nelson, such a weird, wonderful man. I adore him. I adore Bridget too. I've been watching a lot of the Bridget and Mary Jo shorts lately. Have you? Are you going to see Point Break tomorrow?
No. I like that movie. I don't want to see it riff.
No, I actually love.
It's like Mario Brothers for me. I'm like, nah. But I did see the solo riff years ago. It's like.
The riff of Mario Brothers, I think, is really mean because I think they're unfairly mean to John Leguizamo, who's a national treasure.
Yeah, he can sing and dance. He's come a long way.
He's amazing, and I love.
Did you see his Conan interview?
I didn't.
Okay, so it was a more recent one, and they would joke, or let's just say 3 years back, but he had a hysterical story what it was like going from different auditions, and next thing you know, he comes out from one and he meets a then unknown Benicio del Toro and Benjamin Bratt, and they're all joking. Well, what did you just audition for? Oh, the gay best friend. What did you audition for? The typical Latino boyfriend role. What did you get? Shitty thug role. And then they're just all realizing, oh, I auditioned for that exact same role. I'm so glad you got it and not me. And
that's funny. Yeah, no, he's brilliant. I read his monologue collection Mambo Mouth a few years ago. Actually, I think during the pandemic, I got really into reading monologues. When we moved, I uncovered like my massive Eric Bogosian collection that I'd read in grad school. And so
dude's
I got
getting up there. It's like
yeah,
70 now.
I love Eric Bogosian. I like have a little crush on him. But yeah, and reading Mambo Mouth and thinking about Super Mario Brothers, which
Latin
is still one of my
history.
favorite
It's a fun movie.
movies.
Latin History for Morons was a cool special.
Yes.
I saw his like Wazamo Does America, where he looks at the various Afro-Cuban scenes, and that was fun just seeing him tour around at different spots. But
Yeah, I rewatched Tu Wong Fu, which again brings us back to Patrick Swayze, and that movie is incredible, and we never deserved Patrick Swayze at all. But I am looking forward because I actually like when they riff movies I love, because I riff movies that I love, especially like especially Roadhouse, which I saw because of Mike Nelson. Like I had read about Roadhouse in Mike Nelson's movie.
He talks about him in these books a bunch.
Yeah.
He so even before he was guesting on the Blu-ray commentary and then doing the RiffTrax alone and then bringing Bill and Kevin in at the start of RiffTrax for the free Riffer version. It's like that is the movie he bases every movie on, ironically. It's just like, I think Mike would have been a great actor. It's just he didn't, like many comedians, including Frank and all the others, they just didn't want to deal with all the pitching it and budget and all the other bullshit that really ate up Joel and company. You know, it's like,
yeah. But
he
yeah,
could do a stand-up for sure. Like, I mean, that's often what he was doing when he was waiting tables at comedy clubs. I know
TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays, yep. I think he mentioned Jonathan Winters and Jerry Seinfeld he was a big fan of. He's not a fan at all of Dana Carvey, but to be fair, he had a hysterical riff. That dude sucked. I'm like, okay.
But no, I just again like his affability, and it's just sort of like
affabilities, yep.
His just sort of like gentle bafflement.
Gentle bafflement. He also has an unusual buildup, and it's just tough to describe, but he just kind of will often mix it in with impressions, or he somehow makes it more than just amusing dry ramble. Like he just knows how to just build it up, and then he always has a gotcha moment even before the punchline. I'm like, oh, that's what you're going for. Okay.
Yeah. And again, just his ability to craft an insult, and but not but yes. You're glad it's not aimed at you. I remember the 375 pages We'll Never Get Back podcast that he did with Connor.
Yes.
And doing Ready Player One, which is an abomination on society. And as your president, I will try Ernest Klein at The Hague. Because I think he's a monster.
He's a dick.
And just the way just stay in your, I remember Mike just saying, stay in your lane, man. And if Mike Nelson ever said that about me, it's not a huge elaborate insult, but if Mike Nelson ever said that about me, I would walk into the ocean. And Mike and I actually did exchange correspondence for a bit at RiffTrax. And he absolutely lovely person.
Yep.
And so I sometimes would comfort myself because Ernest Klein got more money for Ready Player One than I will probably ever know. And worked on the revival of MST3k. But Mike Nelson said that his writing sucks. And Mike Nelson was nice to me. So I think I won. Clearly, this guy loves MST3k and wanted to be part of it. And in my mind, the best host, I told him to stay in his lane, made fun of him, made an entire podcast to make fun of him. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if that happened to me. Like if Walton Goggins made a whole podcast talking about what a dum-dum I was, I would walk into the ocean.
Oh, come on, Libby. You gotta stand on your own 2 feet.
You know what I mean? Like I spent so
If
much
my
time like
hero
praising his
insulted
work,
me,
and then he's just like,
if
"No,
my
you're
hero
terrible." I'd be like, "Nope, I'm out."
if my
But
hero insulted me, I'd be like, okay, I'll stop watching your movies.
no, but like to go and create a wonderful piece of art mocking Ernest Cline's piece of garbage. Amazing. Ernest Cline, it's what he deserves. I hate him so much.
Yeah.
I threw Ready Player One across the room. I was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
So the guy is, he's the worst. But I
talked to Mike briefly on Facebook years ago. I want to say 2013, 2014, because at one part of his book, he jokes how his face is almost as hollow and ripped up as Michael Chiklis's bald head on the shield. And I was like, oh, so Mike, do you not like Chiklis? And he's like, that is a blatant lie. Chiklis is the man. I'm like, okay, I just read too much into the joke or the diss.
That's really funny. And somehow I missed that because it's like, oh, my two favorite things. MST3, like MST3k and the shield in one space.
Yeah.
I remember there was a riff in the Fantastic Four.
Oh God, yeah.
Where
you have no other reference at that point.
Like, yeah, where I think something blows up and Kevin just goes Lem, and I'm like, okay, too soon.
Oh wow, I forgot about that. Probably there are some good riffs in that one. It's just the movie's so bad. I struggle.
It's not great.
He pretty much in the Mega Cheese, he pretty much takes on just about every movie from ones that I'm not surprised he takes on later on. RiffTrax from Independence Day and Anaconda to plenty of other blockbusters. The one that had me on the floor, and I still quote to this day, is when taking on the infamous movie Ed. For those who don't know, Joey from Friends attempted a movie career. It didn't pan out, but he was talking to an ape, which was all a robotic puppet. And it's just so funny because he just can't get past his name, LeBlanc. And he's like, that means white in Spanish. I'm just going to call you Matt the White for just the rest of the book. And it's just so funny because he's just like, he lets, much like Kevin lets certain overrated stars ruin him movies for him. Like Mike just has something about everybody, but I think I never find it snarky. I always just find it as like just saying your private thoughts out loud. And he's just like, this Carissa guy, he's eating the scenery. I fucking hate it. Just stuff like that. Sharon Stone, keep your clothes on. And it's all just a funny reminiscing. And I'm surprised he didn't encounter any movies with rappers or just other bad special effects. But he pretty much just sticks with just the main ones and noting how just unfunny they are and everything. It's like, yeah.
And it's
some pretty bad comedies.
So funny, like going back through because I reread movie Mega Cheese during the pandemic, and like movies that I had forgotten about. Like I reread it before we did our episode on Blast from the Past, and I had just memory hold that movie. Like I had completely forgotten about.
I forgot to mention it briefly. Yeah.
And really only got to it because I on the O.S.T party, I insisted that we do a 3-part series on the rise and fall of the swing revival movement from 1994 to 1999.
Yes, swing music. Yep.
So that meant we had to talk about Blast from the Past, which I had never seen, and again had completely forgotten about, but also then discovered that there's a really absolutely killer Cherry Poppin' Daddy song called "So Long Toots"
yes.
that's on that soundtrack and later appeared on their 2000 album Soul Caddy, which is also a great record. So I just got their new album. It's so good. I love them so much.
Lovely. Band. So Mike doesn't like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I get it. The dude's an egomaniac. He is a big Jackie Chan fan. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Jackie is the man. He respects Arnold movies, but he finds them too mindless, so they're just not really his thing. But I just love the third chapter where he's just nothing but sci-fi, and he just brings up how he hated Lost in Space as a kid. He figured it was just him. And once again, he's encountering Matt LeBlanc, so the riffs are aimed at him again, but he's just like, man, I didn't understand that show here, But nostalgia aside from anyone else, I pity anyone who can get for this, incomprehensible awful movie.
Well, and that's who it's dedicated to.
Yeah,
Says there's been the dedication.
he does. And he does joke about the various nepotism. And I thought that was fun because did you forget how many just privileged actors are there? He's pretty mean to Joe Estevez, who I'm actually best friends with. And
That's really?
yes, I interviewed him years ago and followed everything he does. I legit think he's a good actor. I would never know it wasn't Martin unless I looked at the two of them and
Oh,
I've had
he
some
did
pals.
Roller Gator, and that brings me great joy.
Oh, well, see, here's the thing. I've seen him actually be good in other movies. It's just they pick the bottom of the barrel. Like just real ones is like
Well,
tough for anyone to work.
It also comes down to like, what is it about? What is the purpose of film? I mean, obviously there's many purposes of film. To inspire, to educate, to thrill, to love, like to feel connection to the people on the screen and the people you're in the theater with. But there's something about a movie that was never going to be good. Roller Gator was never going to be good, and yet
Nope.
it makes me happy when I watch it because it's so funny. And when I watch Roller Gator, it's streaming on
It is
Pluto,
a good RiffTrax. Yeah.
then I think about like my friend Tad, and I send a text to Tad, and I'm like, "Hey Tad, how are you?" And it's
So
just
it's your
like
the room.
the power of bad film, I think can be just as powerful as so-called like good film. And Catherine Coldiron writes a lot about this in her book Junk Film. And she actually she has stickers that say watch bad movies, make great art. And just like the power
I see it.
of
Why bad movies
watching
matter. Perfect.
like of watching what we consider garbage cinema and like what you can learn from it, what you can pull from it. My husband and I just watched Showgirls, which I had never seen.
Oh dear.
And I can't stop thinking about it. Like there's been other movies that I've watched that are like good movies. And obviously I know like what good cinema is, but I cannot stop thinking about Showgirls. Like I was taking a nap today and I was just lying on the couch thinking about how she licks that pole.
Oh God.
Like I watched a movie 4 weeks ago and I'm still thinking about parts of it.
What's funny is Joe Esterhaus was recently interviewed on the Hollywood Reporter's official podcast that happened in Hollywood. And it's just so funny how, much like Mike in this book, he jokes about how shitty erotic fillers have become. He revolutionized the genre, but he also jokes how it was too many cooks in the kitchen. And he's like, but anytime there's a cult cinema showing and he does a Q&A for it, just like it's always packed. Like everybody wants to know it. And much like The Room, there are people who legit like it. There are people who love to hate it. And then there are people who are just like, it's an essential bad movie. It's going to be funny.
And yeah, like I stopped thinking of movies as bad because like there are plenty of movies that like other people love and I'm like, that's a terrible movie. Like it's not good.
Oh, trust me, I've lost many friends over my hatred of Mad Max. I'm like, I like apocalyptic movies. Everybody is so dense and shallow in that movie. I hate it.
Yeah, like I will argue the virtues of Girl in Gold Boots over any Star Wars movie.
Oh, there you go. Because here's the thing, like, but then you encounter these snobs who act like a movie is only as good as its budget. Is like, I don't give two shits about the budget. It could be 500 million. But if the plot just doesn't grab you or you don't like anyone in it, it doesn't matter.
Or the characters
if you don't like the
forced,
idea,
or it's just walking through a toy aisle.
I love some of the most hated X-Files and Star Trek episodes just because I like the idea. But everybody has become so accustomed. Oh, you must hate that. I'm like, you've seen it 20 times as well. So tell me, why do you hate it? I don't think you know why you hate it. You're just jumping on a bandwagon because it's easy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's
the most hated season of The Wire. I love. So I don't know.
Yeah, like cult cinema, which encompasses like a lot of like what is considered like bad or trash or so bad it's good cinema. I think has a real way of bringing people together because it becomes this experience, and I really feel in a lot of ways. And we want to remake them.
No one will be angry. that you
No, I
remake it?
don't ever want to I want them to stay as they are. And I think that's one of the things, going back to Mystery Science Theater 3000 and its importance in film preservation, is keeping these movies alive and showing them to other people and becoming part of
The midnight
our
movie
dialogue
screening.
around film, which I think is so important. And
You wouldn't want to remake Night of the Blood Beast or Teenage
No.
Strangler. No.
no, because
I think they're good movies. It's just they're not well made, but
but one of the things I love about those movies is like they exist as like moments in time. And so you see the outfits people were wearing, the cars people were driving, like they become these historical documents. What our fears were at the time, what
well,
you know,
yeah,
what
there's
we were
lots
worried
of
about on a larger scale, like what we were trying to sell, what stories we were trying to tell.
I
And
accuse my parents as a big infomercial and
yeah,
not well
and
done, but a
and the
cool thing.
way that these storytellers tried to tell
We were paranoid. We were
these
fear-mongering.
stories. Yeah, but I kind of love that. Also, Are You Happy in Your Work is a fucking jam. I would say, like, I would get the 45 of that right now if that was available. I sing that like all the time. I just like walk around singing like, "Are you happy in your work? Do you never ever shirk?" I love it.
There's some
It's
music.
one of the handful of Joel episodes that I really love. Like, I really am firmly Team Mike.
Apples and oranges, my dude. Dude, that.
So I think also I came to it through Mike. The first episode I ever watched was The Brute Man. And so I think which host you see first, or which host you spent the most time with via, keep circulating the tapes, anything like that, is kind of the one you have the most feelings for. But again, I just love a big Midwestern man who loves the Replacements.
Chris Bouillou was the star. He was the one forcing all the movies on us. I think you should do a special on the music of Pod People.
Oh God. Oof.
Or Space Mutiny. Maybe even what's the other one? Well, we'll see. That's
Well,
what
there are like a
point.
handful of like real musical episodes. Girl in Gold Boots, obviously. Hobgoblins.
Merlin's Shop kind of had some weird music in it.
Well, there's what's the one with Yipe Stripes? Is that Teenage Strangler?
Probably. There was Mitchell, Squirm. There was a bunch.
Squirm was actually the guy that wrote Squirm. Grew up in the area around here. He's from Fly Creek, which is why the town is named Fly Creek. Fly Creek is about.
I think the lead in it also became like a director of shows like 30 Rock or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
A weird history.
Who was it? Timothy Van Patten, of course, from Master Ninja.
Hey, yes, and that whole Van. I'm really surprised Mike didn't mention the whole Van Patten family, but that would have been a little more obscure. But
yeah, like I was watching the HBO reboot of Perry Mason. It's like Timothy Van Patten. I'm like, that can't, like, he was I believe the executive producer. He had some high role in that. I'm like, that can't be the same, like, Master Ninja.
Yep. Him and Dick. They loved him. Or not Dick. There was the other Van Patten. Yeah, you're right. It's Tim, but there was another Van. Yeah,
so I posted something about it. And Frank, who frequently retweets a lot of my stuff, Frank is a lovely, lovely man. He commented on it.
Fun fact, he used to write for the Young Turks.
I think I knew that.
But it's so funny. I'm like, dude, which episode? When the Young Turks started out, it was very much like the Daily Show. So I feel like a lot of Mind Over Matters, if there's one key thing that carries on into both that and Mega Cheese, it's his he not only just jokes about different party and catering stuff, but also just like he does the impossible. Like he jokes about typical high school sports being booed off of a theater, stage play production. Even
that's the funniest essay I've ever read.
The one that had me was the what's the one? He there's so too many to count, but he goes on a spree just naming off titles that could easily be terrible, Sunday night movies or Lifetime Channel movies, and I'm just like that. Much like that should be a band name. I am all about is like, yes, that totally sounds like a terrible direct-to-video made-for-TV movie we would all rent. And it's like it has that.
But the line that always sticks out to me when he's talking about in My Triumphs in Musical Theater from Mind Over Matters, he talks about the rail not breaking when he's playing Fagin and Oliver Twist. He says short of waving politely to the audience and walking to my death. And that is the funniest line to me. Just like, because he's such a great visual writer, like I can picture it.
We feel his pain, ironically, and you're like, oh man,
yeah.
I would hate to be in your shoes. I'm
and anyone
sorry.
who's been on a stage like knows that feeling. Whether you've dropped a line, whether like you still feel that panic.
Because he's actually in pain while he's delivering a painful monologue, so it's almost kind of method acting for him.
So when he's like the rail broke, but someone had forgotten to drop the put the crash pad down. I thought about that. My husband and I helped out on a local production of Beauty and the Beast, and my husband was the one of the set painters. I was the costume lead, and there's the scene where Gaston falls, and every single night I like double and triple check. It wasn't even my job, but I double and triple checked to make sure that crash pad was there.
Did you have to raid an entire thrift store just to get extra clothes?
No, they had a very, very good costume closet, but just every night checking to make sure that crash pad was there, because my friend Patrick was he was playing Gaston, and I did have to sew his pants at one point while they were on him.
Oh dear. So
I didn't last long in costuming, but it's also funny because he talks about being in Anything Goes, and
Anything Goes, yes,
which I was also in high school.
That was your favorite play, last I checked.
No, it's not. It's like one of my least favorite. Because I was.
Oh, well, what was your favorite? Because there was another one you mentioned in the interview we did.
My favorite play is Hedda Gabler. My favorite musical is Little Shop of Horrors. Okay. But I
don't know why.
no, that's fine.
You mentioned it a bunch, so
because I was in it and it's traumatizing. But but they bring that up in Mystery Science Theater 3000 when they have him. They show the pictures of him in a sailor suit.
Yeah,
he did. And then
is
Frank,
that an actual photo?
I don't think so. I think it was just a prop, but they mentioned that. And then at one point when Frank's pretending to be a TV agent, he says he's booked Mike in a 10-week run of Anything Goes.
Oh, meta.
And the next cut is to him in a sailor suit singing Anything Goes. So.
That's right.
We'll return after these messages.
If you like small town mystery, crazy news, and wild history, then the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast is for you. Each week, Josh Mills and Wayne McCarty bring you the absolute best Florida has to offer. So if you're looking for a show that's safe for the family, but funny enough to help you escape everyday life, then listen to the Florida Men on Florida Man podcast. That's Florida Men, plural, on Florida Man podcast.
Hey, it's Brent Pope, the host of Breakfast with Brent Pope. You've seen me on some of your favorite TV shows saying things like, "Give it up, Jimmy. You got to sink this putt to win." On Breakfast with Brent Pope, I sit down with guests from the entertainment world, and we do it all over breakfast. Or should I say Brentfast? Every week on Brentfast, you get inside Hollywood info and tips, great breakfast recs and booty debates. Most of all, you get the most delightful 30 minutes of your week. So dig in. It's Brentfast time. Listen at Brentfast.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are found.
The Jacked Up Review Show podcast is honored to be part of the Blind Knowledge Podcast Network. Join anytime, talk the talk, and enjoy yourselves. There's something enlightening for everyone with this crowd of cool cats. Check them out. So this is why this show is even more cultural. Just talking about other old school stuff from Hotline to just other obscure playwrights. There was other times where it's just like you would even look up the joke and realize, oh, we're talking about a famous person who died of AIDS or another politician who got
Yeah, and that's I think
canceled.
one of the great things about MST3k is being able, it's such a broad swath that it allows you to grow with it. And even like in rereading all of these books, like sort of recognizing stuff I hadn't thought about before, movies I hadn't seen when I first read it, and I'm now reading it.
So glad you avoided
And
the bad ones. Yeah.
yeah, although he does talk in Movie Mega Cheese, he talks about wild things, which of course makes him wildly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that movie lives rent free in my head. That movie, I also am sort of like deeply uncomfortable in a lot of ways with like movie, not nudity, I'm fine with movie nudity, but like movie sensuality, like forced movie sensuality. I don't want to ban it or anything like that. I'm not on that train, but I'm just sort of like, Kevin Bacon, please put your clothes back on.
I'm one of those don't goof up the tone. Like stay
Yeah.
back to the stay in the lane thing. So like I hate Game of Thrones because it can't decide if it wants to be a horror movie, fantasy epic, or a Skinamax show. And it just keeps changing so constantly. It drove me
Yeah.
fucking crazy. So I'm just like, okay, good acting, good set design. I'm not digging where any of this is going. But
Yeah. I avoided Kevin Bacon movies because for decades, I didn't see Footloose until I was in my 30s. Because I saw Wild Things and Hollow Man very close together, and I'm just like, why is this guy's penis always out?
I had a friend like that because he saw him in all the movies where he was a psycho. He was very uncomfortable seeing him in movies. Some
Yeah,
actors
like I'm
got
still
that
like a little, and it turns out Kevin Bacon is actually like a wonderfully nice human being, but I'm still like uncomfortable by him.
You would like his
because
wife, Kyra's show, the Closer.
yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, lots of
Yeah.
comedy.
But yeah, it's just again just sort of I think a lot of, again, my sensibilities. I'm not from the Midwest. Couple generations back, my family is, but I like a lot of sort of Midwest humor. I love Jim Gaffigan. I love Fortune Beamster.
I think Gaffigan
And
would
although
be
she's
perfect for
Southern.
them because he's not one of those clean comedians, but he also just doesn't go out of his way to rely on profanity.
Yeah, which is funny because apparently Frank works very blue.
Yeah.
Does not surprise me, but they had to tell him when they did the reunion show
Yeah.
that, like, he could not work blue. Which he somehow managed to do while keeping it fairly clean.
When MST3k the movie came out, I always would crack up because that was like one of the few times you heard the word shit.
Yeah.
The other time was one of the other movies that they didn't edit.
Yeah, kind of throws you a little bit.
Shit.
But that's why I also, again, like, I would teach essays from Movie Mega Cheese and from
they're all great
Mind Over
writers.
Matters because they were clean in a sense. And you know, I was teaching college, so it didn't necessarily matter, but I also didn't want to make
they're risque without having to actually go further. And it seems like other comedians have unfortunately just been either too busy copying each other or just not realizing what makes them witty in the first place.
Yeah. And I absolutely, like, I work very blue. You know, anyone who's heard me, I guess I did an episode of Discord and Rhyme.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Apparently I worked a little too blue because people are like, does she have to swear so much? I'm like, well, I wouldn't swear so much if you didn't bring up Randy Newman. So they brought up Randy Newman. I had no choice. Randy Newman makes me angry. I hate Randy Newman.
I know. That's a shame.
I know you know. No, he's terrible. Everybody knows it hates him too.
You are a good improv comedian. See?
It just.
Oh man. So when he talks about just reality TV and everything, I think this one holds the most weight because it's a kind of thing that will never die, unfortunately. But
yeah,
I was guffawed. So he mentions everything from stupid fantasy shows like Hercules to Baywatch and Judge Judy, but the Food Network one still has me on the floor because I'll never forget his various Emerald jokes, and he's just using all his classic catchphrase like "wow, bang." And Mike is talking about his insecurity on cooking and everything. He's like, all right, I'll let you cook. Get on my face with that. Oh man, it's just it shows how some people are a little too much. Like they're good in small doses.
Hmm.
And if people and I just like how he jokes about how is like I don't know why certain channels even exist. Is like they're only good for like 2 to 5 hours, not 24 hours on loop.
Although I do with the Food Network, and I'm kind of surprised he didn't mention it because I think he would get a lot of mileage out of Iron Chef.
Oh well, I mean, was Iron Chef on in 2000?
Yeah. Yeah,
Must have
because
missed it.
I used to watch Iron Chef when I was still
Alton Brown would even do a segment where he did a MST3k type silhouette.
mhm.
I was just like, man, but yeah, similar kinds of humor. He does a great roast of Ishtar, which is the worst fucking comedy ever made.
Yeah, and
All these other obscure movies where you're like, oh my god, how I've never
Yeah.
seen that awful movie.
how Ishtar's Warren Beatty, isn't it?
Yeah,
That let me double
being an
check. that.
ego with terrible use of Justin Hoffman and Carol Kane. You're just like, kill me now. It was the Norbit of its day.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's right. Elaine May made it.
To be fair, they
Because
weren't following
I feel
anything
like
she was scripting.
Kevin Murphy goes after Warren Beatty too. In movie
Because of
Mega
Town
Cheese.
and Country.
Town and Country.
Yeah, which
Yeah, he
is
just, like,
also. I cringe
rips
each
him.
time HBO shows that, and lately they've been re-showing it. I'm like, why? Absolutely no one wants to watch that movie.
Yeah, just
Let it die. Let it
yeah, I
evaporate in the
mean,
clubs.
my Warren Beatty knowledge is limited to Dick Tracy, which I catch myself arguing with.
The O.S.T.
about.
party episode was great. Oh man, so he does get
And
into
it's
Patch Adams and some other cringy comedies that were just,
yeah, the real like super soft cringe comedies of that were like soft and sentimental. Ugh.
they
But
didn't even get the real story right. You're like, what?
yeah, it's funny because he's talking about Twister. And now that we have Twisters, which is out right now.
Oh god.
There was Independence Day resurgence. And again, I love Independence Day, but it's a deeply riffable film. Like it's a very silly movie.
Yeah, it's fun if you're in the 50s mindset. You just got to get past some of the other shit near the end where you're just like, the movie caves in on itself despite it being fun. It's just, but yeah.
Like, and it's such a perfect example of like how to build a blockbuster. But
and let the cast carry it.
What?
And let the cast carry it, basically.
Yeah, and like build enough emotion but not make it saccharine. But I do disagree, of course, with his is saying that Bill Pullman is fundamentally unappealing. I think Bill Pullman is dumb hot.
Yeah, he does hate on a few actors that I'm just like, okay, I don't think they're that bad, but okay.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't like the Baldwins or Penns, and you're like, okay, I think you're letting their personal life invade you, but whatever, I get it.
But well, I don't like Alec Baldwin or the Penns either, except for Michael Penn. He's my favorite Penn. Because
Chris Penn and Reservoir Dogs.
No. Well, Chris Penn in Footloose.
Well, yeah, he's good in that.
Yeah. But Michael Penn wrote No Myth. So and is married to Amy Mann.
I see what you did there. Yep. Amy Mann is amazing.
But yeah, we used to show Independence Day every 4th of July. We kind of with the riff track.
It's a good soundtrack and it is a good riff track. The chick flick one always has me hollering, and that should totally be taught in a screenwriting class. He just is talking about how Bridget loves these movies and he just doesn't understand it, but he finds their plots just it's kind of an example of I'm not laughing with you, I'm laughing at you kind of thing. And he's just acknowledging the whole Nora Ephron, Meg Ryan movies, but then when he talks about My Best Friend's Wedding and how he's like, it's my first Julia Roberts movie. And it's just so funny. He's not paying attention to the movie. He's just thinking of what movies she should be making. He's like, I'd like to see her blow up a cruise liner or be in an action movie. It's just like, because I think we can all relate to that. There's always going to be that rare moment where we're watching a movie, but we're just kind of mentally out cold thinking of something else. Like what we could be doing.
Yeah. Although he does, going back to our previous point, he does talk about breasts a lot. Like he talks about Julia Roberts' breasts. He mentions
I forgot about that. So it's so funny. It's like he likes implied like beautiful people, but he doesn't like just pornographic angle that movies often go to, and to where you're just like, I get it. All right.
So
he makes fun of Marlon Brando, and rightfully so, for another RiffTrax perfect movie that is The Island of Dr. Moreau. Bruce Willis, he's kind to, but he also jokes how the guy will always just be running away from explosions and other shit. And the Carrot Top one, I think that was the biggest belly aching laugh at the time. It was like, and that goes back to your Norm Macdonald point. I think you remember when he roasted chairman of the board on Conan, and it's so funny because Courtney Thorne Smith was promoting that movie. She's like, I'm in that movie, and he's like, you shouldn't have been. Did you even see the same movie?
It's funny because I always, in my head for so long, get Carrot Top and Pauly Shore confused.
Same kind of unfunny comedian. Yes.
Yeah, like I couldn't tell you anything about Carrot Top except that he's not in Encino Man.
He's been at a few comedy roasts, and each time like people are like, dude, like you're just hanging yourself. We don't even have a riff for you. That's just so unfunny. I won't.
Yeah, like I don't know what Carrot Top is, and like that is a blissful point of ignorance for me.
No.
It's sort of like I don't.
You're on the money. You're on the money. I don't know
anything about like Say Yes to the Dress. I don't follow Kardashians. Like there are just certain points of cultural illiteracy that I'm like I'm not, it's not like, oh, I'm better than you. I'm just like, I just don't know what that is. And I do not have the time to find out. Like, I don't know.
I don't think anyone wants to find out. That's the other irony, is like the minute you do find out, it's like that unfunny joke you heard at work, but everyone was talking about it. And you're like, what are they talking about? Oh, Lord.
Yeah. I don't love Pauly Shore, but I have a little bit of an appreciation for Encino Man, obviously, because it stars 2 Oscar winners, and there's a juice bar in Oklahoma City called Wee's the Juice.
Short Round from Indiana Jones is even in it.
So,
man.
But if you're ever in Oklahoma City, go to Wee's the Juice. It's a fabulous juice bar in downtown.
So, did the movie inspire it? Did the movie inspire?
Yeah, it's sort of a 90s themed, like all the drinks are named after.
Punchlines.
I think mine was the Fox Mulder. Like all the drinks are named for 90s stuff. My sister got the Be Kind for Wine. So
yes,
that's my shout out for Wee's the Juice in downtown Oklahoma City.
Yeah, perfect.
I will actually be in Oklahoma City this fall promoting my book, so I can Wee's the Juice.
Lovely.
I also just discovered, and I just like, I know we're going like off a million topics. We were rewatching The Mummy, speaking again of late 90s blockbusters.
Sweet.
And I realized that the boss, Evie's boss in the beginning, the professor guy, is the guy, the shop owner that tells Brendan Fraser no wheezing the juice.
Eric Avari.
Yep. Yeah. I was like, I know him from somewhere. Where do I know him from? So I'm going through his IMDb, and I'm like, okay, right, of course.
He's that go-to guy when you need a diplomat or just a scholar. He's the dude.
Yeah. So I was very excited by that. It's just like, it makes sense now.
He was in a podcast I heard recently, and I forget which one, but he definitely said that Brendan was just the nicest dude ever. And, he's classically trained and everything. And he's like, but I wanted to be to his level, and we're not even the same kind of thing. He cleared the room in a positive way. Like,
I love Brendan Fraser, and I stand by that. Monkey Bone is an underrated film. Like, it's a great movie. It suffered from poor editing, but there's a really, really wonderful film in there.
That is the example of a cult movie where you're just like, of all the stuff we're remastering, why are you not remastering all these other cult movies that are just party movies?
And it's actually like, there's such a good movie there, and if you watch all the deleted scenes, they fill out so much of the story. There's no reason they should have been deleted. There's absolutely, like, it's, you cut out like main portions.
Unfortunately, studios think less is more, and it's like, no, once we're past the content, now we want the substance. You just cut out all the substance.
Yeah, like, you need to tell the story. And I'm a big fan of less is more. I do not, like, as your president, I'm gonna make it a law that no movie can be over 100 minutes. There is no Marvel movie that needs to be 2 hours long. There's not enough story.
And you go by the Police Academy rule, which is stop after 7 movies.
So
no, there doesn't need to be more than 7 6. Like, it doesn't.
I'm of the Back to the Future rule that there should be 3 and no more.
Oh, there you go. That works.
Back to the Future is perfect set. Unless they're sort of open world, like, I think there can be as many fucking alien movies as they want to make because they're open world. But you can't use the characters for more than 3 movies. How about that?
There you go. Emmanuel versus aliens. Make it happen.
As your president.
As your president. You got my vote.
I feel like I could get Tim Walz at least on that. Like, look, I think he'd be like, movies are too dang long. Be like, okay, put me in charge of cinema. We're gonna remaster.
I'll do you one better, Libby. I will make you reprogram all TV. It's like, no more reality TV, no more typical things. Clear out that whole slot.
TV, I'm sort of fine with, like, watch what you want to watch. I don't give a shit. But film,
you'd make it better. You'd make them all be edgy.
Nah, I'm too lazy for that shit. I just want to program Tubi. That's what I want to do. I would nationalize. That would be a perfect
example. Make everything more digital.
As your president, I would nationalize Tubi, and we would bring back the video store as a cultural center of the community. I wanted to work
at a video store so bad growing up. Oh man.
So they're cultural centers. This is how you discover film, and it's not the same. The only thing that recreates that experience, honestly, is Tubi.
Yep.
Because Tubi contains so many fantastic garbage films.
Even stuff that was good, but it just never found an audience, or just stuff just like, I meant to rent that, but there, it was behind 50 other titles. So
yeah, it's wonderful. Do you ever play Tubi Roulette?
I know many podcasters who do. I have yet to take the challenge. But
yeah, where you, for those who don't know, Tubi Roulette is where you start with a Tubi movie, and then you move down to the viewers also watched. And some people roll a die in our household. And so you pick movie number 5, and then you read that one, and then you roll the die on the people also watch, and you end up down these really incredible wormholes, and you find these weird documentaries.
So if you're limited on time, whichever your 5th pick is, that's what you watch the following night.
We usually just watch the trailers. We add stuff to our queue, but we've ended up finding some really, really neat films. Like, we found one called The Thief Collector, which was a documentary about a painting that had gone missing from an Arizona art museum in the 80s, only to be discovered I want to say like 2018, 2019 in just a family's home. It's like,
valuable paintings of the 20th century and the University of Arizona Museum.
So
wow. Bookmarked. I will check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, and we just found that during Tubi Roulette. So it really does. It's the closest thing to going through the video store, because it's not curated the way like Netflix is, or anything like that, or Pluto. Like, discovering old movies on Pluto. I've been really watching the Universal Monsters channel,
nice.
And like watching all these like Hammer horror films.
Did they have any without commercials?
No, but I like commercials. Because commercials,
I like the Tubi commercials, but the Pluto ones would freeze up sometimes.
Yeah, I don't like that, but the idea of just like a forced break remind you,
Gotcha.
like, get some water, get up.
Instead of typical cable where they play the same ad every 5 breaks and you're like, stop it.
I don't even care if it's the same ad because I'm in the bathroom. I'm getting into my pajamas. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm doing jumping jacks. I don't care. I'm not watching the ads. But this forced break that we need to take as people. We can't just stare at a screen all day. Get up and get some fucking water.
So can you think of anyone who has 50 essays though in one book?
No.
Other than
well, probably. I don't read a lot of essay collections anymore, so probably plenty of them. I just am not thinking of who they are at the moment. So,
but he mentioned shopping at both Home Depot and Radio Shack, and was like, man, what a telling tale. Home Depot has been the same thing for years, while Radio Shack went chapter 11 years ago. So.
There's sort of moments in time. It's again extremely Midwestern, just like Mike Nelson he's so wonderfully Midwestern, and I love that.
He also doesn't really go so much for dad jokes, which is wild because he does talk about being a dad. Just wild.
But he has that. There's the chapter in Mind Over Matters where he talks about like morphing into a dad.
Yes.
Like his son's friends come over. He morphs into like a 1950s dad.
Yes.
Again, these great visual images. He's so cute when he plays the dad from Leave It to Beaver on a couple episodes, because like when he's in a cardigan, I just swoon. I just think he's so cute.
Well, you might check. You're not on Facebook, but you might check out MST3k Kink.
No, I don't want to get involved in any weird scenes.
All right.
So, that said, if you ever look at my Blue Sky profile, it's a picture of me go-go dancing for Tom Servo with my gold boots.
Oh, at least it's Tom and not Crow. Crow's pretty perverted.
Wow. Well, my husband built me a Tom Servo puppet.
Lovely.
I think at least one of the first 5 Christmases we were together, and he manned the favor table at our wedding. He had a little top hat and everything. It was very cute. Yeah.
All right.
So
I see at any live event, I'll bring my Crow and Servo along. I tried putting Gypsy together, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
A lot of trouble to go through to get a car seat mixed in with like a baby carriage. You're like, it's a lot.
Yeah. So are yours built?
They're customized from eBay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Mine's a kit.
So you went ahead and you didn't let them pre-build it for you. You're just like, I'm up to the challenge.
Yeah. No, my husband got it for me and then put it together for me. He's in our dining room right now. He shows up. We do a cult movie series with friends, and he shows up during some of those. So, which is fun. The last one we showed, we did Cutthroat Island, which is one of my favorite films, which I would love to see RiffTrax take on.
Right.
Because it's just such an incredibly... What?
Well, what's it called? Movie Rhode Island?
Cutthroat Island.
Cutthroat. Oh.
With Gina Davis and...
I thought he mentioned it in Movie Mega Cheese.
I don't remember if he does.
I know you like it because the cast is cute. I can't get through it because of the pyrotechnics and tech stuff just being so bad.
Oh, I love it. I love that movie so much. It's just it's a great film and made me the woman I am today. Like in all senses. Like it's one of those, like when I look at the way cinema and television has defined my life, there's very specific, there's like the moment that I saw Star Wars like marked a very specific chapter of my life. The Nightmare Before Christmas marks a very specific chapter.
So you let them be chapters in your life.
But some of them like have had such profound impact that that impact is felt even now. And Cutthroat Island is one of those films where I can directly, like, I can see how my life like fully changed in that moment of like who I am and my sense of self. The Shield is like that. The Shield and MST3k are probably the 2 shows that have defined my life the most profoundly. Like that have had a genuine effect on who I am. like, and the paths my life has taken, which is fascinating when I think about it. Because I came upon MST3k by accident.
Many of us did.
And I love that. Space Ghost, same thing. And like that,
Space Ghost.
And then, I mean, obviously anyone who's listened to the Shattered Shields heard my Shield story and all of my Shield stories and all of my Shield lusts.
The first podcaster to take over someone else's podcast. Speaking of interests, I think that's what we like about any person when they share what they're inspired by, because it makes sense what they're into. With Mike, you kind of get a general sense of what kind of comedy he admires. Like, he's definitely going to be in all kinds of things like Andy Griffith and Jonathan Winters and listen to over the top kind of people. I know he mentions he has a big crush on Madeleine Stowe and some other actors whenever he's at awards shows for, they won, what did they win?
Peabody.
Peabody, yes. And it's like, that's something that's not as talked about now. And the Hugo Award for sci-fi, and you're like, man, talk about an achievement that is really understated.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I just kind of dig how half the time he's seeing some of his icons, and then he still makes fun of a running joke that him and the cast and crew have had and said, unfortunately, I did not run into Joe Don Baker.
Yes.
They always are looking over their shoulder, afraid that he is going to kill them for riffing his movies.
Which is funny because I had mentioned something about Joe Don Baker and like riffing on him, and Frank very gently corrected me. He was like, he's actually quite good. It's just these are bad movies. And I was like, Frank, that you're such a beautiful person.
Trace said that in an interview back in like 2016. He's like, hey, he's amazing in that Edge of Darkness miniseries from the 80s, but that's just it. You take him out of the James Bond films and you see him in some occasional B movies where you're like, oh my God, he's hamming it up.
But yeah, I was just thinking about Joe Don Baker the other day. I was like,
he's kind of what you expect when you see a small town sheriff.
Yeah. And then I was like, is Walking Tall on Tubi? Which it isn't, which seems like a real waste. I know. When you find a movie that's like not on Tubi, like you feel insulted. You're like, but that's the perfect movie for Tubi.
I still hunt down DVDs and Blu-rays, and I'm just like,
oh yeah,
I know you're a physical media person too, but it's just like, this is the only place you're going to be able to find this one.
Yeah.
No one knows about it.
Tubi's sort of like what I put on. Like, I suddenly am like, I need to start watching Marilyn Monroe films right now. Or like, I just decided we watched a documentary called Schlock on Tubi. And then that led me down the Doris Wishman wormhole.
Doris Wishman.
Love Doris Wishman. Love her. I think Hideout in the Sun is a genuinely like marvelous little film. We're going to show it at our cult movie party at some point.
It's fun watching exploitation films. In fact, you would love the podcast Cinema Psyops, where they go into various B movies and exploitation films, and it's just always so fun how they just get to the end of the tunnel. I definitely think they did a Wishman movie at one point, but it's just funny.
I'm sure they did. She's one of the most prolific female directors of all time.
But it's funny. It's like, what is a well-intended movie that didn't state all the points it needed to versus what's a trashy bad movie, which is one where it just took a while getting to the point.
Yeah.
Is treating the viewer like an idiot and then running in circles and then keeping you awake because of all the other just shock value on display. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God. And yes, Court is a Misty, but it's funny how they'll go into different movies. You're like, hey, Joe Bob really hates this movie. I think it's fun. The hell.
So, it was interesting because I was thinking about the Vampira and Me documentary and was very surprised. I think one of the real shortcomings of that is that they didn't interview people like Joe Bob Briggs, like Svengoolie, like Joel Hodgson.
There's one from about 6 that has Joel, and I forget the name of it. But it was a really good, like, the evolution of the B movie or some shit like that. But I can't find it anywhere. Like,
yeah, just because, I mean, like,
probably the movie clips. I don't know.
Like, Vampira had such a huge effect on, like, she created the genre.
Yes.
Like, making fun of these movies. And there's
That
no
you don't get
MST3K. There's
without
no Mike
that.
Nelson without
You don't get
Vampira.
You don't get Elvira without Vampira. Yeah,
You
it's
absolutely. I mean, that's a direct line. Unfortunately, but I have a Vampira wallet. I get a lot of compliments with the coffin-shaped wallet with Vampira on it. And actually, I've got a picture of her on my wall right now that I picked up at a flea market in Rochester.
I mean, that's basically the character in. I mean, it'd be funny if you interviewed people. How many of them know her from old replayed reruns of her talk show versus her appearance in Plan 9?
Nobody knows her from her talk show because it aired in such a small area, and there's absolutely no surviving footage of it.
All right. I didn't know if they replayed it at all, like
No,
Doctor Who. Right?
It was live, so it doesn't exist. It's completely lost, except for there's one promo that exists.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Keep circulating those tapes.
So, and it's one of those things like she's so famous as this visual aspect, but nobody has really ever actually seen
next book
that
tour.
show.
How many people do you do that with? Keep circulating my book.
I should, although I kind of want them to buy their own copies.
Well, true. It could be a library copy.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with people. However they acquire it. I don't love it when people buy it on eBay though. So
that's the best.
Because it's like buy it from a secondhand bookseller. Like, don't go to eBay.
eBay's the best Weird Al song.
Or get your get it from the library.
True, but it is the best Weird Al song.
I'm gonna go with Frank's 2000-inch TV. It's the best Weird Al song.
It's all good. I just did a bracket of Weird Al songs, and that was very hard.
Yeah,
I was like, get rid of all the R. Kelly spoofs. Those are okay. They're not. And I hate R. Kelly so much, so sorry.
Not a big fan.
Fuck that. Fuck that dude. All right. If you were to see him conceive another book, if he had some time on his hands, what would you like to see Mike cover?
I'd love to see an updated version of Movie Mega Cheese.
Yeah. See him comment on all the overrated blockbusters that are now Oscar bait or superhero or confusing indie films.
Because it'd be interesting, I think, especially to see him take on the indie genre of the early 2000s. Like, I'd love to see him just sort of eat Zach Braff's lunch.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of those movies.
I'm sure he could just take Diablo Cody to the cleaners. So something like that. I mean, the hyper bloated blockbuster is.
Has Diablo Cody done anything else? I've only known her from Juno.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Jennifer's Body.
Just had Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh,
which was very well received. Jennifer's Body is getting a big reevaluation. I think she's terrible. I don't like her work. But yeah, like, I think also the older I get, the more I really look at some of those deeply self-involved mid-2000s films and think, oh my God, I channel Courtney Love in the song Awful. It's like, oh, just shut up, you're only 16. Like, I was thinking about Ghost World a little while ago, and I'm like, oh my God, you're such a little brat. Grow up. But I remember how much that movie like meant to me, and how much Garden State meant to me, and like all of these films that I'm embarrassed to say like meant something to me at that time. And again, we talk about like film defining eras of your life.
I'd say it was just an emo phase for many of these movies. They just had an unusual, frank way of looking at life, but that was just a cover up how there wasn't much of a plot.
Yeah, and it's just like a lot of staring.
They do like making fun of that in RiffTrax. People are staring now.
Yeah, it's just so much staring, and they lack a certain staying power. And again, that I think some movies are just so bizarre and so artistically out there, and maybe don't succeed, but like stay with you. Like a Neil Breen film stays with you. It like sticks to your ribs. It's not good, but
it meant something.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just like it's somehow arresting. You just like, you think about it.
It's a burger that even the best probiotic won't break down into your stomach. It's just it's stuck in there.
just lives in there.
I find it even funnier how it took everyone a while to just kind of blow off Napoleon Dynamite, and that was a movie I was just like, meh. I didn't laugh once, but I kind of get why people like it, but it's kind of really a big stretch to call it a great comedy.
It's funny because I think seeing that movie with my now husband is the reason we got married, because my husband went to SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York City, and he's still so cool. But like when we were finishing college and in our early 20s, I was just like, I was obsessed with him and had been obsessed with him for years and couldn't believe he was dating me. And he's so handsome, and he goes to art school, and he's just a far cry from the guy I dated previously. It was just a weird Star Wars dork with no riz, as the kids put it. And we saw Napoleon Dynamite at a little theater in the East Village. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, this isn't good. I don't like this. But I'm thinking, like, he probably really likes it because he's really smart and watches movies like, Kids and Requiem for a Dream, and like watches like real smart people movies. He's so deep, and I'm just like a dumb idiot whose favorite movie is That I Remember Before Christmas and has seen Plan 9 from Outer Space a bunch of times. And he was sitting there thinking, like, I bet she thinks it's like Libby's really into cult cinema. She's so smart. Like, I bet she thinks this is a really good movie. And we get out, we're walking back to his dorm. I don't remember which one of us said it first, but I was like, yeah, that wasn't a very good movie. And the other was like, oh my God, thank you for that. So I think we realized,
he's trying to be polite,
moment,
and you're like, he's waiting for you to just say the magic word.
In that moment, I think we realized, like, we could connect. It was like a real like moment of connection that I had. So like I've got this weird soft spot for Napoleon Dynamite, and that I didn't love it.
But it watched it again.
It did. It was just like, okay,
Oh,
like
man.
we don't have to put on airs for the other person. It's just such a relief.
I cherish some bad movie night memories with friends and siblings. It's like, oh, remember when you wanted to walk out of that bad movie?
Yeah.
Remember when you were enjoying it, but then I think the problem is the experience is so larger than life. People just unfortunately are just not looking at the details that someone like you or I find so blatantly obvious. But unfortunately, the theater kind of does that. People are just looking at the spectacle, and then they go back and are like, oh, the dialogue's shit, or the plot doesn't make sense.
That's I think what I love so much about movies is that experience, the experience of watching it, of being present, of seeing something with other people. You can watch the dumbest movie in the world, but if the audience you're watching it with will have an effect. And like, I remember going to see Attack of the Clones, being the only person in my cohort that got dressed up. Because again, my boyfriend was an absolute like he was a fucking drill bit. And watching people lightsaber fight, it's not a good movie. It's not even a particularly good memory, but it is a strong memory. And every year at the Barrel House Writer Camp, we watch Roadhouse. And that's something that I brought. I was just like, no, tonight we're watching Roadhouse. And we watched it, and watching Roadhouse with drunk writers is just a wonderful experience. Like, people just shout at the screen, and they hoot and they holler, and they boo Brad Wesley, and it's amazing. And every year, when I go back, there are people who say, are we watching Roadhouse this year? Like, of course I'm here. We're watching Roadhouse. Like, this isn't up for discussion. And there are always people who have never seen it. And none of them have ever walked away on like an unchanged person. It changes people. And I think that's the power of cinema and groups. And I think that's the power of finding the right audience to watch a movie with. And sometimes that audience is you and your sister on the couch with a host and 2 robots on a Saturday. And I think about my sister and I watching MST3k every Saturday in the late 90s on Sci-Fi. And it's such a treasured part of who I am. And that to me is like, I don't want to get like Nicole Kidman here, but that is the power of film. and the power of the experience of watching movies together. That's what Kevin Murphy writes about. And, you know, Mike goes a completely different way, but he also understands that movies are to be discussed, they're to be talked about, they're to be loved and made fun of and cherished and hated. And there's nothing worse than a movie that you forget.
True. One that you're just like, what was that plot even about? The worst part is when you got a movie that just doesn't deliver on anything, and you're just like, I don't need it to be successful. I need it to just be done with a sense of fun.
I need it to be something other than me eating popcorn for 2 hours. And, you know, I've eaten a lot of popcorn, and there are movies that I don't really remember. I definitely, I know I made my friend Mike go see a lot of movies with me. And Mike loves movies. Mike watches so many movies. But I'd be like, hey, let's go see Maze Runner 3. He's like, why do you want to see Maze Runner 3? And they'd be like,
Goggins.
Walton Goggins is in it, isn't it? I'm like, no. Yes. That's why I saw Tomb Raider. I saw Predators like 3 times in theaters. Actually, I have a real soft spot for Predators.
That was the first thing I ever saw him in.
He's great. He's great in everything. And people are finally catching on, and I want to be like, oh, I was into him years ago.
What's that tattoo of? Oh, that's my sister.
He's great. He's amazing in everything, like fully brings it. And he's one of those actors, and I could talk about Walton Goggins all goddamn day. Spent, you know, 4.5 seasons.
Next Comic-Con. Libby's
doing
going
the same thing. What?
Next Comic-Con, if he's there, Libby's getting her tickets.
He's actually going to be at a Comic-Con at the end of the month. The whole strike team is going to be there, and I'm not going to be there. I can't make it.
Is it a reunion?
It's a photo op. My co-host Drew is going on our behalf. I told him to kiss Walton Goggins full on the mouth with tongue, and he did not say he wouldn't.
I think he's married, Libby.
So what?
Oh my God.
So?
Standards. Anyway.
Drew's not, and Drew is on my behalf. I don't think he's going to, because Drew puts up with a lot of my shenanigans, but I don't think he would do that on my behalf. But
Drew did a good job interviewing him back in the day, just because it's like it brought them out of their shell. Everyone was getting used to what a podcast was, and it was like, hey, we're acknowledging what you guys have done all these years, and how it has influenced your career.
Drew's a good interview, but yeah,
you should interview Mike.
I should interview Mike. It should be like, hey, so MST3k, but what's your favorite Replacements album? It's, you know, and why isn't it Don't Tell a Soul? So Don't Tell a Soul is underrated. I like really want to talk to him about this. I really just want to go to him and be like, yeah, MST3k is great, but what are your thoughts on, you know, Pleased to Meet Me?
Don't Tell a Soul. You're talking about the latest movie?
No, it's the Replacements.
Oh, you're talking about songs. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
What? Shit. I'm just gonna bring this up. When do you think you're gonna pop back on Christmas Creeps?
I don't know.
I just love how it's just Christmas all year.
Yeah. I'm going to Joe's wedding reception at the end of November, so I will actually get to meet Joe. So maybe we'll decide then. We actually need to do another episode of O.S.T. Party. It's been a little crazy this summer between him planning wedding and me with another book coming out. It's been so much.
Nice.
So yeah, but this is always fun. I'm sorry it took us so long to get to here.
It's okay, dude. We got crazy schedules.
Yeah, but finally getting to talk about, you know, my true love of Mike, because I think he's dumb hot. Yeah,
I know. This is the way you're saying it. I get it.
It's just cute.
Every
year we watch Santa Claus, and I have to, like, when they do the Santa Claus, he's got the rolled up jacket sleeves.
The rock and roll number, yeah.
I get like a little flustered, and Ian's like, "You gonna be all right?" I'm like, "I'm fine." Fine. Just love a Midwestern man. I felt the same way about JD Risner from Yacht Rock. Thought he was real cute too. Still is cute.
I just found it so funny how I didn't know that the web series Yacht Rock is what made
They
that
developed the term.
catch on. But yeah, the term came later. It's like,
No, they created it. They created that
that's
term.
what I mean. But like for the music that had been out for a while, they didn't label it as that.
Gotcha. That's funny. So, all right.
Hey,
How do we wind this out?
We let you plug a few things. So yeah, you're going to be at a few expos. We got this coming out, ironically, for Cat and Mouse Week. See what we did there?
Oh, yeah. When is it coming out?
For Cat and Mouse Week.
When is that?
You're gonna make me date the episode already. It's for yeah. That will be 3rd October week.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to think like when I'm gonna be places.
All right.
No, fine. Yeah, so prompt me for that.
Oh my god, Libby, where are you gonna be next?
Well, I'll be hopefully out promoting my new novel, Negative Girl, which you can get on
negative.
Well, it's made for a Steely Dan song, which should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody.
No one.
And I put out my challenge. There are 2 Shield references in there that no one has managed to find.
You made it too cryptic.
It's too cryptic. They're both really kind of dumb. They're extremely
dumb.
They're
there
so
are
dumb.
no dumb Shield references. I already got in a fight.
These are very, very silly, like real.
I just got in a
Discord
Discord fight when I was bringing up how that I was trying to break a tie. Both them and The Wire are often brought up in best procedurals of all time, and someone was like, "Oh, they were picking a side and saying it's not even close." I'm like, "It's absolutely close."
Yeah. But no, I was gonna say
Anyway.
the jokes they're what Joel Hodgson would call a Swiss Army joke.
That's Joel.
So if
Perfect.
you can find them, I will. I don't know. You won't get any prize, but I will tout your name for my social media.
Nerd. And
Drew's like, I'm gonna find them. I'm like, you're not gonna find them.
I will find you, and I will kill you. How long does it often take you to conjure up a story that you want to dedicate time to? It's just like
I have them all the time in my head. It's just a matter of finding.
This is more than a dream or just a random vision. You're like, I want to flesh this out now.
Yeah. Yep. So I've got them in the a stack of them waiting in the wings to be written.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
Altogether, what do you recommend everybody do to just find their inner peace, since it's been a rickety-rockety, just divided world these last few years?
I just have to go back to what my friend Catherine Coldiron said: watch bad movies, make great art.
Perfect. I am so glad you brought that book up. I already have it in the cart. It looks
great.
like, I mean, something's good when Greg Sestero from The Room has given it this praise.
Yeah, no, Kat she's amazing. That book is spectacular. And I got to hang out with her a little bit at Writer Camp this year. So
Writer Camp. Lovely.
Barrel House Writer Camp. We go every year, and I just love her. I think she's amazing. I also picked up her short story collection, Wire Mothers.
Nice. Lovely. Hey, always a delight, especially having any comedian on here, just because you guys flesh out the world and have it make sense after something a historian can't even put into context.
It's been a wild ride, but thank you so much for having me on. This is always such a pleasure.
Totally. Mr. Historian, can you please go off book?
Follow Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening. It's a jacked up